So you might just want to move on to that.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's a lot of open space for people to do fan works because
Yeah, there's that.
could easily just sort of drag this whole story thread out quite a bit and have it actually fill the whole school time stuff and things and have it be a drawn out conflict. Could totally do that.
Yeah,
Toshi doesn't want to, but
and
that's
just
his choice.
which I get that when you are going with a story for a while and you are feeling like it has to end sometime soon, you kind of just want it to end.
Hmm.
And that's something that like with my D&D game, I could have had, oh, and this character will not talk to you, and this character, and this character, and this character. But there's too many characters to try to juggle and deal with. And when you're near the end, you're just like, okay, we're just going to kind of move things along and kind of up the pacing a bit.
That's the thing, though. I kind of liked the pacing as it was because you had, what was it, between arcs you had the fucking USJ attack, and then next month for the next arc, like right after, and then it
Hmm.
was uh, another month, and then another month, and then multiple months, and then multiple months again, and then multiple months again, and it was all kind of like a steady build of how things were progressing, and it feels like from that we've kind of gone 0 to 100 in a very short span of time.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. Um, I think there will be a few chapters of kind of settling in, um, because it's clear that it's clear that like Horikoshi as an author for My Hero Academia is somebody who wanted the pacing to go a certain way, but then he's like, wait, given the way I've structured the society and these villains and how they work, it becomes much more difficult to pace that out at the same pace. So I understand the desire to want to skip ahead a bit and then deal with some of the stuff later
Hmm.
because you just went through a very like very heavy arc with lots of depressing things that happened during it. So I don't know if you want to spend, the next few months dealing with all of that
I
with chapter after chapter of sad thing.
Yeah, I feel like everything. Okay, the villain arc. I would say that would be where the problem was, or rather, where Horikoshi's desire to move things along really showed itself.
Hmm.
Because in that sequence, spoilers for the My Hero Academia manga, by the way, everyone. Welcome to the Fandom Flux podcast, yada yada. Um, we're gonna avoid spoiling like the really, really, really recent stuff, but like just stuff before that, absolutely. So the villain arc where they all go against the, what was it, Quirk Liberation Front or something.
Yeah.
Uh, so the villains go from kind of a ragtag band of like dangerous people with a decent amount of resources behind them to a literal paramilitary force with incredible powers behind each and every one of them. And it's like all of that happened in like just one arc, and it feels like Horikoshi decided, okay, I want to get to the end game now. I've built all this up slowly and carefully for so long, but I'm just kind of tired of it, so I just want to move along. And
Hmm.
yeah, I'm not big on that. But you know, he'll do what he's gonna do. It's his choice because he's the author.
I feel like it has been the fault, like to play devil's advocate here.
Mm.
I feel like it has been the fault of a lot of shonen manga where they go slowly and carefully and slowly and carefully and slowly and carefully, and then they begin to start to lose track of the direction they were going because they've been going that slow for so long.
Mm.
Um, and that's it's kind of the issue that I have with Naruto went on for a long time, like a long, long time. And there's only so many confrontations between Naruto and Sasuke that, you can handle before it starts to feel ridiculous.
I feel like Naruto is a different problem because that story had its entire structure being Naruto and Sasuke against each other, and then Orochimaru and the fucking Akatsuki. That's it. Um, and then Naruto fights Pain and he wins, and the whole thing behind that is kind of the plan's kaput. Naruto did his talk no jutsu therapy session, and the bad guy decided not to be a bad guy anymore and undo all the horrible things he did. And Naruto's a hero, he gets the respect of the village, and then the only plot thread left was him and Sasuke. That was it. That was all that was left. But Naruto makes so much money, you guys. Maybe we could just draw this out for a bit longer. If we just, introduce a villain who is like an even bigger threat than Pain was, and have him be retroactively a mover in the background of the story for the entire thing, and it actually mirrors Yuhua from Bleach a little bit in that sense
Yeah,
of just
Bleach, kind of a similar thing.
yeah. But yeah, that was the problem with Naruto, was that Shueisha, and maybe to an extent, what's his name, author whose name I forget. I'm forgetting a lot of things today apparently. They wanted it to keep going because it was making a lot of money, and shutting that shit down would be really bad for the bottom line. So that kept going. Whereas Horikoshi's thing is doesn't seem to be that well. Hero Academia does very well in the West. It does not quite as well in Japan. It's
Hmm.
not a big three kind of thing as those series were back in the day. It's popular, but it's not like world shaking. So there's no real pressure for him to put it on and be ongoing indefinitely. And it feels like, this might be a symptom of, the manga industry being what it is, of being miserable work, backbreaking, ridiculous hours, horrifying deadlines, and I can 100% understand wanting to be like, I could use a break, so I'm just gonna end my series. Cool. Like, if he's got a plan to move on to the next sequel series where everyone's grown up and he can do that, then sure, that actually makes sense to be like, okay, this story's going to end and we're going to do the next one. And I get like 6 months off
I
between.
it's kind of interesting because unlike other sort of you know different manga and everything out there, there is a definitive main villain that we've known for quite some time in My Hero Academia. And it's not like, oh, a surprise twist of this character was behind it all along or that character. It's as simple as, well, if this power is, one for all, then there's obviously an all for one.
Hmm. Yeah.
And in trying to stick to that, you could introduce more villains. I mean, they did introduce a lot of other villains, but right now, um, the way the story had kind of flowed, once you have that main big villain free, that main big villain is going to be in like he's going to be causing a reign of terror.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird because you got your main villain, and now we got to deal with the main villain, and there's no other way around it.
Yeah. It just
Um,
felt like they kind of decided we're gonna build up the main character super much, so he is now super Deku with like all of the quirks, and we're gonna build up the villains so they have a literal military force and also all of the quirks. Uh, and now we've gone from, you know, Deku was just regular, generally powerful, but, still regular hero in the Overhaul arc and gentle and whatever else. And then suddenly he has all of the powers. And then we have Shigaraki, who was a dangerous dude with a ragtag band, and now he has all of the powers and a military force that can basically have a reign of terror over Japan, who feels like maybe that should have started happening after All for One was freed instead of before. Like, maybe that would have made a
mhm.
little more sense. So he could be the one that was doing all that instead of the chump with no charisma who managed to convince everyone to join him anyway. It just feels like the story took a lot of shortcuts around that time, and now, coincidentally, go figure, we're getting to the point where, hey, the story's about to end.
Mhm.
So, I I can understand the reasoning, and I don't think it's crippled the story. I don't think it's like a massive misstep like you could accuse a lot of decisions in Naruto storytelling to have been. But it was not ideal, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There was definitely a different route they could have chosen. Um, it's kind of interesting because at the same time, the main series is coming out. You have vigilantes out there on the side,
Yeah.
and vigilantes is fleshing out all the different aspects of the world and backstories of certain main characters. And I get the feeling that you know Horikoshi's looking at that, and he's looking at the story, and he's just like, yeah, I wanna write something new, probably in this world, um, because he is. I imagine he feels kind of restricted.
Hmm.
Because if you're writing a big manga like this, that's all you're writing typically.
Yeah. I mean, if you're writing any manga, you tend to just write one thing. Like,
Yeah.
if it's a success and you get a weekly series and Jump, that's it. That's what you're doing.
Hmm. And he's a big Marvel, Western hero nerd, and I imagine that the idea of going through 2 more years of school was just like, oh, I'm gonna burn myself out by then
Probably.
before
That's
we get to
usually how
the
it
hero
happens. Yeah.
stuff I want to write.
Yeah.
Still, I do wish that things hadn't gone quite so fast.
Yeah. In an ideal world, we would have gotten the perfect story arc of them going through school while also they're getting more powerful, the villains are getting more powerful, and it ends like right towards the end of their third year when they defeat the villains and All for One lies defeated and they are heroes. Because they have graduated, they are now qualified heroes, and they are literally heroes.
Hmm.
That's I assume that's what he was going to go for, but reality stepped in, and holy shit, the manga industry is miserable.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know how freaking One Piece can still run for so many chapters.
even Oda has had to succumb to the rigors of the manga industry. He does like 2 weeks on and 1 week off now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, like Promise Neverland, like that went like 180-ish chapters, and that one kept like introducing more things, and like still 180 chapters, and it's just like, yeah, no, complete.
Yeah. And 180 chapters is still like pretty much 4 years of almost non-stop work.
Yeah. But
Like,
I feel like we had an era where we had a lot of long running shonen manga
mm,
that went for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of chapters,
oh boy, did we!
only for
Like
only
we,
for them to either be scrapped, um, kind of go off the rails, get canceled, having to, quickly finish or
yeah, like
do other things. Like
you can
it's a big investment.
you can talk about the big three. The big three are the thing and had been like through the 2000s, but they weren't the only ones. There were so many more. There was Hunter x Hunter. There was the cooking one. Not that cooking
Yes.
one, the other cooking one. A bunch of sports manga. There was Hitman Reborn, which somehow managed to last for over 400 chapters. I don't really know how. History Strongest Disciple, which was really good, and unfortunate that it kind of ended very abruptly, but again, over 400, maybe even 500 chapters. I don't actually know the number.
Hunter x Hunter is 390 chapters long. The last chapter to come out was in November of 2018.
Yep. And it is still listed in Shonen Jump as on hiatus.
There's only so much story you can tell in manga format. I really felt that when I was looking through the latest chapters of Hunter x Hunter, and it's just like, dude has a freaking novel written in each of his text boxes.
Yeah. Some people are better writers than they are artists. Mangaka usually tend to have to be pretty fucking good at both. Um, but the reality is, being pretty fucking good at both means you have to do both basically on your own for a long fucking time. And for a lot of the stories that are being told in manga, you really do want them to be told in a media that will allow you to have more people working on it at once. Like mangaka, for as much as you can get assistants and stuff like that to help work on it, it's a very specific medium to one person. Like sometimes you will get a writer and artist pair, but that's about as far as it goes. You can't really have like
Mm-hmm.
6 different artists all contributing in a similar amount like you can for like animation. Like everyone has a very strict idea of how the art style works and all that stuff, and is just constantly going and just producing with massive staffs of people. You can't really do that for manga. It doesn't really work that way. So, or at least as the manga industry is now, like if to my knowledge most mangakas still draw in, you know, on hard copy. I don't know that many have actually gone to digital for
Yeah.
creating manga, which honestly probably they should, frankly, because that would make it a lot easier to have it be a much more collaborative project in terms of the art. Like you could then have the art done with multiple people and take some of the burden off the main creator. That would be very helpful to avoid those like 14-hour work days of being leaned over a
It
desk.
something I've noticed is a lot of these a lot of these different anime and everything that are coming out, they have the web novel, then they have the adaptation to the light novel, then they have the right.
Mm-hmm.
That's because the person who's doing it is a writer. They hire an artist to do the stuff for them, and then that gets turned into an anime. And then the web novel is just like, all right, cool. I wrote 400 chapters. We will have enough light novels to cover where I got to in 5 years, if we're lucky. Um, and then by the time we get anime, that's we might get 1 or 2 seasons. And you have Horikoshi over here. He's put out 30 volumes of My Hero Academia, just full books of multiple chapters. And you compare that to like a novel that you read, right?
Which, in fairness,
And
is a very different format. Like a
a
book
very
of
different
manga
format.
is a lot less story than a book of literature. It's
Yeah.
you know,
But if you compare that to a novel, right?
mm,
That's a lot of you have to write every single word in a novel. You have to draw every line in a volume like that. It's a lot of work. It's a
mm,
huge investment of time and resources, and like as somebody who I mentioned before, my D&D game just ended,
yeah.
and I worked on that for 3 years. And I'm like, I wrote a whole epilogue of all the different characters I could remember, where they ended up. I shared that with the players, and they had a whole thing of like, oh, this is where our characters ended up. And that whole epilogue session took an hour. And I'm still thinking, well, what about this plot line here that I introduced, but that never went anywhere? What about this one here? What about this one here? Or they never got to hear this character talk again, or they never got to hear this character talk again. It's just so many different things, which is like, but at some point the project has to end.
Mm.
Uh, uh it's it's really difficult to end any sort of project or to make that decision to start to end it and to like I had to up the pacing because an arc that I did that was supposed to be just like a character specific arc, right?
Mm.
Normally I wrap that up in like 4 or 5 sessions. That's like a month of time. This one arc took a year. It took a year because I kept introducing new things to do in this place. That I got new ideas, new dungeons, different sort of twists in the plot, and I got really into it. But that took up a whole year. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, well, the ending is just like that happens in like a month or two.
Mm.
It, pacing is really hard to do for a week to week project.
Oh
And at
boy.
some point, you're just like, I want it to reach its conclusion. I've been waiting a very long time to get to this point, and I don't know if I have the patience left in me to keep on going in the same amount of pacing. Otherwise, I'm going to be using up all of my time. You know?
Mm.
Big projects are big.
Yeah, they are. Oh boy.
It's like the thing where it's like I wrote so many fanfics, I didn't finish any of them.
Yeah, I mean, I I can look at all of the stories I've written recently, and one is maybe the closest to actually being done that I've ever been on any story ever. And it's, what is it? Look it up. 150,000 words. That is a couple of books, is what that is.
Yeah.
And probably a third to go before it's done. It is about 2/3 finished, I would guess.
It's novels are so condensed because you write it, you rewrite it, you rewrite the whole thing again, you take it to an editor, they chop it up and remove all the unnecessary pieces. And then you have a book that is moderately sized. You don't have, with a week to week project, the benefit of writing the whole thing and then having somebody chop it down. You have your editors who chop it down week to week. And sometimes, that's a very fallible process.
So, again, podcast. Hi, how's it going? That's
Hi, this is a fun topic
Yeah, it
actually,
is.
talking about finishing projects like this.
Yeah, we just spent the better part of half an hour talking about that and stuff. So that's cool. It was fun to have something for me to actually talk about.
Was this another week of just work, 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 work?
I did do something, but patience on the podcast, so probably better not to talk about that. Yeah.
I can drop out if you want to have a more interesting conversation. I haven't contributed anything for the last half hour.
I'd have thought you would have had plenty to say on that topic, patient, to be perfectly honest. Because, Any thoughts you want to jump in on?
Sorry, what were we talking about?
Kind of finishing projects and deciding when you can have your ending.
When you can have your ending?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were talking about how My Hero Academia is supposedly on its final arc. And we talked about, comparing to other stories that have been long runners, and especially ones that have been really long runners, like Naruto and One Piece, which, mentioned how Oda has also succumbed to the rigors of being a long-running series and having to take breaks.
Well, for One Piece at least, the end point has already been defined from the very beginning. Reaching the end of the Grand Line, finding the One Piece, and seeing where it goes from there. But I acknowledge that otherwise, if you just have someone who stumbles into a supernatural occurrence, it's not always so common for there to be a definitive endpoint. Unless there's just one definitive protagonist, after which everything... No, one definitive antagonist, after which everything goes back to normal. But... I suppose it's a matter of when you run out of good ideas and good executions for the series. But, that's an easy trap to fall into as well.
Yeah, we did... Zero did mention, it's a week-to-week project is writing a manga, and you can only have an editor chop out the unnecessary stuff from week to week. And I guess for Oda specifically, that's actually been a blessing, because it has let him flesh out the world massively, whereas if he'd already finished everything, so much of it probably would have been chopped out by an editor who decided, this story arc doesn't really add anything, so we can just skip this. I feel like Little Garden, for example, of an arc, that would probably have been condensed down quite a bit because it wasn't 100% necessary, but it was also a fun journey while it was going. And that's kind of the point of a week-to-week series. You want it to be, every part of it to be fun in the moment, and then hopefully when it all comes together as part of a greater whole, it's worthwhile. But you can only hope for that.
Indeed. It is important to only include things that are there for the sake of being fun, if you know that they're going to be. Otherwise, it's good to streamline a story for the most part. Keep what's needed, get rid of what isn't.
Mm-hmm. I think of, you mentioned how One Piece has a defined goal of, finding the One Piece. And similarly, you have Naruto, who is straight away saying, I want to be the Hokage. That is my goal. That is the flow of our story.
Yeah, and you have sort of a, I forget what the term is for it, but it's a want versus need. Like, he wants to be Hokage, but the reason he wants to be Hokage is because he needs to be acknowledged and respected by the people of the village. That's his actual goal. That, becoming Hokage seems like the fastest path to that. So the natural endpoint of the story, again, was when he beat Pain and was acknowledged and respected by everyone in the village. And that would usually be where it would end, more or less. But
you run into a situation, the story meanders and starts introducing new things that shouldn't be in the story, and that's stuff that an editor with, hindsight and seeing the whole series could pluck out and change. The story is more condensed and more focused on one particular sort of end goal, I guess. And I feel like that's kind of what happens to, like, Bleach as well, for example, of arc after arc after arc after arc after arc. You start repeating yourself. And it's just like, you had a story, you kind of told it, and you're trying to tell it again.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a very specific problem of Bleach, was just, okay, we're building to a story. Okay, that's fine, but the story's getting bigger. Okay, we'll move on to the next part of the story. We're going to do Soul Society. We're going to invade. We're going to get Rukia back. Okay, we did that. Cool. That can't be the end of the story, though, because this thing was actually surprisingly popular, so maybe we'll just, embiggen this whole plot arc. And we have, Aizen is the big bad now, and he's going to do some stuff, and that's going to happen later, but for now, everyone's going to go home and everything's going to go back to normal. Back to normal is the phrase that cursed Bleach from pretty much that point onward. Because that's everything goes back to the status quo, and then a new thing happens, and Ichigo has to go and do something about it, and you end up with a very reactionary protagonist who only exists to be bothered by other people doing things to mess up his shit, and doesn't really do anything aside from that. Yeah, so then you have Hueco and Orihime gets kidnapped, and this is an exact retread of fucking previous arc, but alright, let's do it, let's go. Go to Hueco and save Orihime, and everything that happened in Soul Society happens in fucking Hueco again. And then you have the Winter War, and Aizen's defeated, and everything goes back to normal. Cool. Ichigo doesn't have his powers anymore. Okay, new people show up to give him back his powers. Cool. He does stuff with them, and it goes kind of wrong, and none of the characters are interesting, but fine, whatever. And Ichigo wins, and everything goes back to normal. Yeah.
And that's where the anime concludes.
Yep, because people noticed the pattern and didn't fucking care anymore. Yeah.
I don't have as much hate towards Bleach as a lot of people seem to. I mean, I acknowledge that the story is a bit all over the place, but I mean, I like the characters.
Don't get me wrong, I don't hate it. I've never really hated it. I deeply disliked the later arcs, obviously. The fucking Fullbring and the Quincy were less than interesting. I was not a fan of how redundant it was, or how redundant it became, rather. It did some interesting things at the beginning, and then it decided to redo those interesting things.
Yeah, it's fair.
What were we talking about?
Endings.
Right,
Endings.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean,
if Bleach ended after the Winter War and Ichigo loses his powers and goes back to normal, it would have been a sad ending. It would have been a mildly redundant story that told itself twice, but it would have been fine. It would have been a decent ending.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really know why that one kept going. I feel like that one kept going because Kubo specifically didn't want to let go of the world, maybe? Like, he felt like there was more that he could have done in that setting and wasn't ready to just give it up. Which, I can relate to that too. That, I guess that's what Patient is talking about, and Zero was talking about, of just not knowing when to give up a story and just let it be done.
It's hard to do.
I mean, it's not so much knowing when to give up a story, it's knowing when to, well, depending on the medium, it's knowing when to stop making the sequels. And I mean, sequels aren't automatically a bad thing. They're just, like a lot of things, hard to do right.
Yeah, that probably frames better what, well, now think about it, both Naruto and Bleach kind of did. Like, Naruto was doing a sequel where the big bad was just the underling of a bigger bad who comes up in the second story, and everyone has to fight him, and everything's on, like, bigger stakes and a bigger scale and stuff. It's, sequel build up. But it wasn't framed as a sequel because they let that one story thread hang and clung onto it for dear life so that they could pretend it's still the same story. And then Bleach was absolutely just fucking sequels. You could frame that shit as a series of a TV series.
You said something about Big Steak, Casey?
I'm not a big fan of steak. Man, I saw a video of someone putting fucking, I think it was either Wagyu or Kobe beef and turning it into sausage, and it was depressing and gross.
I'm not overly familiar with quality cuts of beef, but I recognize both of those names.
Yeah,
so
I think it was Wagyu beef. It's like $200 per pound or something.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah.
So, how's everyone's weeks?
Mom's all right.
Mine was alright. Nothing too remarkable. Except publishing the next chapter of This Bites, of course.
Yep. Saw that.
You don't seem particularly enthused.
I didn't finish reading it. That's probably why.
That would... Sorry, I forget that not everyone can read. No, that's coming out wrong. Sorry. I forget that it's a lot of words to read.
Yeah. It is a time commitment that I cannot commit time.
Sorry.
It's alright. Don't worry about it.
Now,
I do have to wonder, do you have for this bites, do you have an ending planned for it already, or do you just keep intending to go as Oda writes more chapters?
well, we keep planning things for the new world. I mean, we're stopping the first half at the time skip, and I'd say we'll hit there in about 5 more chapters, if that.
Hmm.
That's more than I was expecting. I was going to say 2 or 3, but I imagine you're going to do stuff like um, how the world around, you know, the protagonist is changing and stuff from the war afterwards.
Well, well, we will have to see. We definitely have ideas for that, but we need to wait until Oda finishes the manga and we know the big, big details before we decide what the world is going to be like when the time skip ends.
Yep.
But, I mean, presently the plan is just what it has been from the beginning. When the story reaches its end, Cross will return to the real world, be able to get back to writing some, and he'll likely have shenanigans in the other world as well as time goes on. I mean, it's always been Zom's story, not mine, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, we know
that's
exactly how the first half is going to end, at least.
well, that's good. Uh, um, so I mentioned before I finished up a D&D game.
Yeah, you did.
Because that gives you, it doesn't feel real. Like you make hundreds of characters, um, hundreds of maps, pick out hundreds of songs. It's you look at the stuff that Matthew Mercer does for like Critical Role, and you're just like, it's a good thing he's being paid for all that.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Oh, but it's fun. I can at least devote my time to my original world fully, which is nice.
Mm.
I'm going to be starting a Curse of Strahd game on Thursday. Not DMing it, just playing. And I've heard good things about that particular module. So, looking forward to killing vampires. I also played more of Demon Souls for the PS5, the remake.
Mm.
I have an issue with the remake of, well, not with the remake specifically, but with Demon Souls in particular.
Mm.
So I've made it pretty far into the second sort of world, I guess. I beat the big spider boss. I unlock the next sort of nexus point, and then I go and I get I have a shortcut that leads back to the first sort of area. Um, I miss bonfires. I miss them a lot because there aren't any.
Yeah, that's the one where you basically have to go through in what is effectively one shot, right?
You can, but once you beat a boss, you get like sort of like a checkpoint, right?
Yeah,
But it's a long way to get to that boss.
yeah. But that's
And
what all the shortcuts are for.
you get obviously you get one shortcut that leads back to your first checkpoint, so you can go and fight the boss over and over again. And then you get into the next area, and it's just like, are you kidding me? This area is huge. There's all these different paths, and you just okay.
Yeah, explore.
throw all of this at I just was like, ugh. I found I wasn't having fun.
Oh, that's a
I was
shame.
just getting really I was getting really stressed because um it's really hard to level up in that game because it's very hard to get your souls, relatively speaking. I mean, I guess I could farm it, but I don't want to have to grind a ton. And then it's a very hard game.
Mm.
I like Dark Souls a lot. I like Dark Souls, I've played all the Dark Souls games. I've played Bloodborne. I'm a big fan of Bloodborne. And I think also it contributes to the fact that I still haven't found a weapon that feels good to swing
Mm.
and feels like, this is my weapon. This is how I want to play the game. It's just like, this weapon will work. Use my strong attack. Take a very, very slow strike.
Mm.
The bosses are fun. It's just the in between, and because it's so hard to get stronger, especially early on,
Mm.
from what I'm gathering. It's like they throw 20 of this, or like not 20, but more like 10 of this enemy at me. And each enemy takes like 3 stabs with my spear to take down. And I have to use the spear against them because, they're weak to piercing damage. If you try to use anything else, it just kind of, well, screw you, I guess.
Have you tried the rapier? I don't actually know whether there's a
I
rapier in the
haven't
game.
gone to rape. I haven't gone to rapier yet.
Oh, that's a shame.
That's my favorite weapon. If I had it, I'd be having a lot more fun.
Mm.
But I don't. Instead, I have a spear and the actual only fun sword I found, which was going to World 4 and grabbing that off one of the first corpses and being like, a Kilij. That's a short sword that is really fast. And the Uchigitana, which requires 18 strength to use. Great.
Yeah.
It's just like pathway after pathway after pathway. I'm like, my save, my checkpoint's back there, and I have to go through all of these enemies. It's not easy to just run past a lot of these enemies and you know roll past them and keep going through. You just have to fight them all one by one by one by one by one. I miss bonfires.
Yeah. Kind of want to play Dark Souls now.
There's no Estus, so your heals are basically healing items that you pick up. These herbs.
Hmm.
And those are pretty good. But also, um, I don't. Okay, there's a system in the game called World Tendency. So, World Tendency is something that changes depending on the various actions that you do, and it changes how enemies scale, what enemies appear, um, so on and so forth, what items appear as well, right?
Hmm.
What that means is if you want to have a pure white tendency in your world, you can never die as human. Meaning that you are going through that entirety of that world as a spirit with a cling ring on, so you have less than your maximum HP.
Hmm.
Because the game just decides, yeah, screw you if you die while human. So you have to go kill yourself in the Nexus and then go through as a spirit. But if you're human, you should be able to summon help, except, this game's been out for a while and I have not found anybody I can summon for help.
Also, it's on PS5.
and it's on PS5 exactly, and nobody has a PS5. So ah hmm.
I feel like I missed my shot for this, but also you could, if you do really well, then it becomes battle tendency, and then a Nazi cyborg tracks you through the level and tries to kill you.
That would be fun. But I had fun with the boss, but you can tell that these are very simplistic bosses that they just kind of upgraded the looks for.
Hmm.
These are very much prototypes of other bosses that you fight in other games.
Yeah.
It's like okay, the spider boss. Here's what the spider boss does. He shoots fireballs at you. You try to run to him. He can shoot one fireball, which you can just roll through, or three fireballs, which can never shoot you if you're on the left side. So you just hug the left one and just kind of go. And also there's webs that slow you down because screw you.
Kind of sounds like
But then when you
Phantom,
get up
except for the
close,
webs.
he has two attacks. Um, three technically if you go off to the side, but mainly two. One where it's a big swipe, easy to dodge. Another one where he just kind of does like a ground pound, easy to dodge. And then you just strike him, do that, and then after you hit him enough times, he decides that he's going to spew all this oil on the ground, and then you just run back. He sits on fire, and then you have to run back towards him as he's shooting fireballs, and just do that over and over and over again. I mean, it was kind of fun, but it was very much. I don't know. I fought the Tower Knight as well, and it was run around to kill all the archer guys, and then basically just circle strafe him.
I've changed my mind. I want to play Devil May Cry now. You're talking about a spider boss that shoots fire all the time. That's fucking Devil May Cry 1.
And the tutorial boss was literally just the asylum demon, you know?
Hmm. I assume it didn't get to do the thing that shits up basically every Let's Player, where it jumps up and slams down on the balcony that he's standing on.
No, there's no balcony when you fight it.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to. This boss is the hard boss that's supposed to kill you. It doesn't have any moves that are.
That single moment in Dark Souls where the boss just decides, no, fuck you, you're not hiding up there. It set the tone for that series better than anything ever has.
Yeah, and the start of Demon Souls, you run up and boss has two attacks: a swing, and then ground butt stomp. That's it. That's all he got. And like I've realized, this is a remake of an old game. They've changed and they improved in many different ways, and I still feel like you should have done something a little bit more. I feel like you could have done some quality of life improvements and some extra added moves for some of the bosses to kind of.
I feel like that would have pissed off some purists. Like, yeah, you can change and adapt and update some stuff, but changing moves is where things get a bit dicey.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Demon Souls players who played the original will probably very much want to be able to go through the game and be like, yeah, I can do this exactly the same as I did before, but it's way prettier. Cool.
Yeah, I feel you. Just a bit disappointing.
Yeah, not ideal for people that didn't play the very, very, very niche game that was the first in the series. that has been improved upon so many times since. Like,
Yeah, and everybody who's played the original, like, they've also probably played Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, and a whole bunch of other Souls-like games. And the bar is at a different place now.
yeah. But again, I think the people that played the original will still want it to be the original. Like, I can go back to Dark Souls and I
Yeah.
can play it exactly the same, and that's exactly what I want from it.
Hmm. Yeah, I understand that point. I'm
Like,
still gonna complain though.
yeah. Like, they supposedly improved things in 2 and 3. I could fucking debate. I'm still pissed off about poise. But, I don't want any of that in a Dark Souls remake, which is why I'm pretty glad that the Dark Souls remaster didn't fucking change anything. Because I want it to be as it was.
Yeah, it's a bit different though when you have gosh, Demon Souls is like a PS3 game?
It is, yes. It was, I think,
If
2008? It's pretty early on
yeah,
PS3.
it's been a long time coming, and uh, I don't know. I've been
No,
playing.
not 2008, 2009. Sorry, my mistake.
There's just some decisions that they make with how they design challenge that are okay. There's a trap ahead. The trap has never triggered on me once because it's a boulder falling down like 50 feet ahead of me. Okay, we're gonna throw 15 of these enemies at you. Some of them have like pickaxes and stuff because you're in the mines. And okay, take those down. We're gonna throw 3 dogs at you. We're only ever going to throw 3 dogs at you. And I don't know. I haven't hit a point where it's fun to just tear through the enemies because the level design is just weird, and the enemies have. It's hard to level up, and the enemies have a lot of HP, and it's difficult in that sense, I guess. But I'm not enjoying it, and I want to. I'm trying to find out why. So I'm sorry if I'm meandering a bit with how I'm talking.
No, it's fine.
Like, I want to go back and play more, to kind of at least get past the area, but at the same time I kind of don't. Apparently, magic is OP in Demon Souls. I never play magic builds.
Anyway, you do anything else?
Oh yeah, sorry for ranting about all that. I mean, okay, so my parents went away on a vacation
Yeah.
to like Cabo, and they had to get tested for COVID, leaving and then returning. And
Sorry, I just realized they went on vacation without you again. I literally just realized that.
it's for their anniversary,
Well, whatever.
so
Still counts.
understandable. So I sat and I watched the dog. I had a hard time doing much else other than going downstairs and watching the dog and playing with the dog.
No one here beside you. Something, something, something gone. Something, 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 something.
And now we have company over, and we're gonna have company over next weekend as well.
Exactly, because you gotta have friends.
Stop.
You fucking set me up for it. That's your fault, not mine.
So, my friend Don came over, and we watched the Avengers Endgame. and finally
I feel
caught
like you
up
talked
movie
about this last
wise.
week.
No, we watched Infinity War,
Ah,
but we only got to Endgame. Uh, recent. I might have talked about it. If we did it. Did we record on Tuesday?
mm-hmm.
Might have talked about it then. But yeah, that's about it. Like, hasn't been a whole lot of days. Um, it's been really quiet, just kind of doing things and relaxing. And I have another week of just I can't work because there's a spring break going on.
Mm,
That is this week.
mm.
So I guess I'll play video games or something. I don't know. There's a Fake Go event going on. I'm
There's
falling behind in that. I need to
it is
catch
very
up.
slow, but there is a lot of stuff in it that you might want to get. It's pretty good.
So many materials.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Oh, 3 days until the new Among Us map comes out.
Ooh, I
Hooray!
probably won't play it, and probably no one else will either because they'll still just want to play on the ship.
I want to go play on the new map. I'm gonna bring all my friends. It's gonna be awesome. All right, that's it. I have nothing else to talk about.
Okay. I have a thing I can't. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Go ahead.
I won't take long. Like I said, it's been a pretty slow week for me. Only I went out of town for the weekend for a visit to the temple, which was nice. And the only other thing to note is that I have gotten back into playing Shield, and I caught a shiny sombrero wearing pineapple duck.
Okay.
Shiny Ludicolo, that is.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And learned in the process that you, the, even the Pokemon that spawn in the overworld, you can't tell if they're shiny until you enter into battle with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's a bit good to know, but not all that happy about it. But yeah, that's about the only interesting things that have happened with me this week.
So I did a thing that, you know, so there's a game that came out this week. It's called Subverse.
Okay. I haven't heard about this.
You liar. So this is the game by Studio Foe, who people might remember as the people who make the porn. I will not be explicit, patient, so don't worry about it. So I bought that game and I tried it. Oh, he's deafened himself anyway. All right, fair enough. His choice. So that game is a surprisingly good game. I mean that specifically as being a game where you play it and do stuff in it.
Okay.
Not the sexy stuff, just like the actual gameplay of it.
I actually have not heard about this, so I'm actually looking it up right now.
It is a twin stick shooter where you know spaceship fighting other spaceships, which is pretty solid. It also has XCOM alike combat almost. I guess maybe a little bit more like the Mario one that they did. I forget what it was called.
Mm-hmm.
What was it called? The Mario XCOM clone.
That was the Mario and Rabbids crossover.
Yeah. Okay, we'll
Um,
just go with Mario and Rabbit. Yeah, it's a
Kingdom
little closer to
Battle.
that, where it's not really consequential tactical combat. Uh, but yeah, that's pretty solid as well. The writing is it does not introduce itself very well. I get the feeling that the writer is not a confident writer because it is about 60% meta references of like, hey, Captain, you need to do the tutorial for this video game that you're playing, kind of thing. But apparently that gets quite a bit better to the point where people are actually just kind of more invested in the game than they are in the porn that the game comes with. So, good.
So
for them,
fun game,
yeah.
better than the accompanied porn.
I have no idea whether it's better than the porn.
Understanding. Okay.
Not the slightest clue, because I haven't really indulged in such. I haven't indulged in much, to be honest. I've basically done the tutorials for both sides of the combat, and that's about it. But from what I hear, that's what people think of it. Is that they're actually getting invested in the setting and the story of it, which was not what they were expecting to do. And I don't think the creators were expecting people to do either, based on how the writing introduces itself. But good for them, I guess. Like, it is
I'm
probably...
looking at pictures of this right now.
Yeah, it is
You
probably...
have like the...
Okay. You want to actually fucking say something then?
I'm sorry, you can go.
No, you go. You fucking say something. Stop interrupting me or just talk. Choose one.
I'm sorry. You please. It is your podcast. I endeavor for you to continue your point.
So you don't have anything to say?
I was going to say I was looking at the pictures and I'm seeing like 3D models here and then like a top-down sort of gameplay. It seems kind of a little bit odd, I guess. I don't know exactly how that. And then there's like ship control. That looks actually kind of fun.
Yeah. It's a fairly standard twin stick shooter for the ship controls and fairly standard tactical combat for the tactical combat. But from my understanding, since they are animators, a studio folk, that's what they do. That's what they got their notoriety for, let's call it. They basically decided, hey, we know fuck all about game design, so we're just gonna have other people do that, and we're gonna do like the rest of it, like the story and the animations, obviously. Worked out pretty well by all metrics. Like it's very well appreciated on Steam, apparently.
Huh.
So good for them.
I'm looking at the reviews. First review. This is the Mass Effect we deserve. Followed by, I do not wish to be happy anymore. I just want to be horny. As well as another review saying, I backed this and it's just kind of a bad porn game. Like the gameplay is good, but the porn is just like 3-second looping animations with a fixed camera angle. Which is like, well, apparently this was backed on Kickstarter.
Yeah. Also, that actually sounds pretty standard for a porn game, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. DBH.
But yeah, so that's a thing that happened that I tried and is now on my Steam account, for better or worse.
Now, Steam's going to recommend more to me. I looked at it once.
Yeah, I look forward to things like House Party coming up on your recommendations. It's going to be good. Yeah.
Thanks, Steam. You know exactly what I don't want.
You know what? I'm pretty happy it's successful. Like, I don't think I've made like my opinions on this sort of thing quiet. Like, I don't think I've kept them quiet, rather. I feel like adult content needs to be allowed to be adult content and exist. Like, usually it gets relegated to ghettos of content, and I don't think that's fair. I feel like adult stories should be allowed to exist as well as ones that are more palatable for a younger audience. And I feel like this is a step in the right direction. Like, it's stupid and really, really, really. I don't want to say immature because that's the wrong word, but the humor in it is juvenile and it treats everything very flippantly. But I appreciate that it is actually a game in the adult space that has the budget of an actual game.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, as a dude that
Yeah.
writes a lot of porn, I'm kind of on the side of porn being okay and not being a thing for people to be disgusted by and offended by just because boobs.
Boobs are evil. Don't you know? We're not allowed to look at the sinful boobs. Oh no, stop looking at the boobs. They are filled with sin.
You know, like fucking Dawn was recently outlining why certain pictures are getting automatic spoiled in Discord. Of like, if there is like two semicircles, like pointing downwards, that might get spoiled. Because that might be boobs.
Do you see a nip? Then it's spoilered. I just really like the word nip.
Solid word. Yeah, so that's pretty much the only thing of note that I've done this week, I guess, was buy that game and try it for like half an hour. That's too many of my fucking weeks, dude. Is I bought a game, played it for half an hour, and then didn't get the chance to play more of it. Oh, god damn it. Week off.
You
Week off tomorrow.
you need to just enjoy your week off.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I'm gonna edit all the reflux. I'm gonna edit the podcast and schedule all of it. I'm gonna write the chapter, and then I'm gonna do nothing until next fucking Tuesday. It's gonna be great. Yeah.
Play some games.
Yeah.
Watch some things. Oh, I forgot to mention Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I was literally about to say I might watch some fucking Marvel shows, since I haven't yet.
Yeah. I like WandaVision a lot. Not too keen on the ending, but I like it a lot. Falcon the Winter Soldier is really interesting. I'm actually really digging it because it feels like Captain America content, like that same style of writing and what it focuses on. And
because
I don't want to
Falcon
give any
is
spoilers
basically
because
Captain America.
What was that?
And because Falcon is basically Captain America now.
No.
No?
No.
Oh.
But somebody decides to try to take up that mantle.
If it's fucking Bucky Barnes, I'm gonna be pissed.
No. The government decides that somebody needs to take up that mantle.
Oh, right, because he's military, technically. Fuck. They're allowed to do that. And it's probably also a U.S. military copyright or something.
And Falcon and Winter Soldier are not happy with that. It's very good.
Okay, I'm gonna watch those shows. What's this fucking time? Once I can be free.
They're not like hour-long shows, like episodes too. They're like 30 minutes. It's actually pretty easy watching to like binge all of WandaVision at least. Yeah,
I thought they'd be like
30 at the
40, 50.
long at the longest at the longest like 50 minutes, but it's usually like 30 to 50.
Yeah, it's a weird length, but I guess they can do that. They don't have to strictly adhere to the 41-minute length for an hour-long show. So,
Yeah, they're like just do it however much you want.
which makes it weirder in hindsight that fucking Daredevil and Punisher and all those other Netflix shows always decided to be 51 minutes per episode.
Yeah. Thanks, Daredevil.
No, don't be sarcastic about that. Daredevil was really good.
I
Be
feel like the
genuine,
later
thanks.
stuff, some of the later stuff kind of really wasn't.
Charlie Cox literally made himself blind for that show.
I do want to go back and watch it again at one point.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I want to see Kingpin again. He was so fucking good. What was the name of the actor?
I don't know. I just think of him as Kingpin in my brain.
Yeah. I can't really think of him as anything else.
Vincent D'Onofrio. D'Onofrio. Vincent D'Onofrio.
Once I heard you mispronounce it, I knew what it was. Yeah. I know he's been in other stuff, but I can't think of him as anything but Kingpin, which is unfortunate for him, but, you know, he fucking owned that role. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think
He was in Jurassic World.
Was he?
Yeah.
My condolences.
He was a villain in Dishonored too.
Really?
Yeah.
Fucking weird. Well, I mean,
That's the last thing he did. That was like 2016.
wow. That's kind of depressing.
Oh, he's directing and starring in the 2019 Western. When was the last time your Wikipedia was updated, Vincent?
Check his IMDb. They keep that updated.
Oh, well, I'm curious now. I have to go down and see. Latest thing. He's in a TV series called Ratched. And then he's gonna be in The Eyes of Tammy Faye, Untitled Sandra Bullock / Nora Fingsteet Project, and A Fall from Grace. Things still coming out.
A Fall from Grace. I know that one, I think. What year is it?
Coming out. It's been announced, but it's not out yet. It's coming out soon.
Okay, now just something different by the same name then.
Maybe. It's about a detective, Michael Tabb. If that rings any bells.
No, the detective from the one I'm thinking of is female.
Okay. So it's possibly a different thing, or possibly a remake that has gender swapped the character, maybe. Who knows?
I think that's a podcast.
What is?
Are you sure? I thought it was a YouTube video.
The fourth wall has been broken.
What are you talking about, Zero?
I don't know. I'm tired.
I have legitimately no idea why you just said that.
We watched a brain rotting show this morning, and it's rotting my brain.
Okay. So that's a podcast. Discord link in the description. Patreon link in the description. Bye, everybody.
Let your brains rot in peace.
Rabbits.
Really? Twice in one day? Twice in one day.
Well, you weren't expecting it, were you?